After years of Final Four heartbreak, last August the Madison Radicals finally experienced championship glory, winning the title over the Dallas Roughnecks for the first time. The defending AUDL champs continue their 2019 season against the Minnesota Wind Chill. The celebration continues from Madison next.
Been playing ever since. Quit all 3 of my sports just to play more Ultimate.
It's intoxicating when you first start. The creativity is endless in Ultimate.
You would do anything to catch that disc.
A behind-the-back flip. At one of the great venues of the American Ultimate Disc League, we are at Breeze Stevens Field in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. Cool but comfortable conditions on this Saturday night.
And welcome to another edition of Thursday Night Rewind, presented by Deschutes. For the first time, I'm representing Deschutes Rocks. Good evening and welcome. Evan Lepler, joined by Jimmy Kittleson of the Minnesota Wind Chill and Colin Camp of the Madison Radicals. Two guys with a combined 10 years of AUDL experience. And we'll dive into the matchup and the intricacies of what we're expecting in a minute. But first, Jimmy, how are you? How is it, everything in the Twin Cities?
I'm doing great. Weather's good. The humidity finally went away. So getting out every weekend on the lake and having a great time this summer. Very relaxed.
What do you do on the lake each weekend?
Well, I've just started trying stand-up jet skis, which are quite a challenge, but they're a blast. I haven't really done any lake activities, but my girlfriend's got a fun place, so learning everything you can do out there.
Awesome. Well, we'll ask you about your Twitter handle in a few minutes, but first, Colin, you are a Minnesota boy at heart, but obviously you played for the Radicals since 2015, since going to UW in Madison. What's life like these days in your part of the country?
Yeah, like Jimmy, it's finally kind of the humidity's gone down here, and we're actually getting some nice days in the summer. It's weird not having Ultimate in our lives, but my golf game's never been better.
Yeah, what are the highlights have been lately?
Shooting like mid 80s right now. Just that's what we've been doing. As some of the guys on the team have been playing with like Victor a lot, and just going out to the range with some guys too, and just trying to do other activities that we can do right now and still hang out as a team as much as we can.
Fair enough. It was, I think, 4 weeks and 2 days ago that the 2020 season was officially canceled. Jimmy, how have you handled the emotions of officially no Frisbee for quite a while?
I mean, I kind of expected it. I was rooting for the bubble system. It sounded super fun, but it was getting pushed back so much that, I was out throwing and that was about it. I knew all of us were staying in good enough shape we could jump back in 3 weeks if it actually happened. But I don't know, I'm having a great summer here. It's kind of weird to not have plans for the whole summer for the first time in 10 years or something. It's a new experience.
To have free time on the weekends.
Yeah, and probably
Colin,
the
how
first
have you
time,
handled all the free time you've had on the weekends?
Yeah, I'm loving it. This is the first summer I haven't been playing Ultimate since like 2008. So I'm loving having free time. I'm spending a lot of it with my girlfriend, with our dog Finn, going to the dog park, and just hanging out with friends. Yeah, having weekends is definitely something different. So just trying to find new hobbies, new activities, just trying to figure out things to do that you have the time that normally is taken up by Frisbee.
Good deal. This game, week 5 from last year, was a really interesting matchup. And in the open of the broadcast, I say, the celebration continues next. Madison had just won a championship. I believe you guys raised a banner commemorating that championship right before this game. And, we obviously know, Colin, how the Radicals' 2019 season turned out. But at the time, you guys were 2-0. Was everything groovy going into this game, or was there a sense that it wasn't quite the same as the year before?
Oh, we were absolutely flying high at that point. I mean, we had gone to Indy, played indoors. We never enjoyed going to Indy playing indoors. It's tough. We even had kind of a short man roster as well, and we got a W there. So, having 2 wins under our belt already, we were like, all right, here we go. It's time to repeat. We were sky high with confidence at that point.
Jimmy, the wind chill arrived at 2-2. You lost to the Wildfire twice, once by 1, and another game that wasn't as close by 6. You're coming off a 9-point rout of Detroit. What was the level of urgency like? I mean, obviously you played for the wind chill 4 previous years, and you've never won in Madison before. And yet I got the sense from talking to you and Coach Ben Feldman and some of your teammates that you had a decent level of confidence going into this game.
Yeah, we had a really fresh squad last year. Probably half our team turned over. So our expectations were, we want to go at least 6-6, but we look really strong, and we think as the season goes on, we're going to become a really intense team. And we always have a fire going into Madison. It's just such a fun stadium to play in, first off, and game of the week. And I don't know if we expected to win, but we expected to make it close for sure. And it was a pretty sweet game.
It was a pretty sweet game. Let's jump into another Thursday Night Rewind presented by Deschutes from certainly one of my top 2 or 3 favorite venues in the AUDL, Bree Stevens Field in Madison. This was a picture-perfect night. And, I mean, Colin, what's it like to play in this venue on a regular basis and just kind of have the expectation that fans are going to be there to support y'all?
It's amazing. I mean, it's something I never imagined I'd have the opportunity doing when I first started playing Ultimate. I mean, I remember in high school just having a few, family members on the sideline was great. So being able to play in front of, crowds of 1,500 consistently it's crazy. And they bring the energy too. I mean, they're not just there watching, they're bringing energy. They're getting into cheers. They're getting into every, big play, every layout D. So, I mean, it's incredible playing in front of that, in front of that crowd.
Great to see the sun poking its head out just in time for opening pull.
Yeah, it's one of the few stadiums where you can hear the crowd kind of roasting you and cheering while you're out there playing. The atmosphere is great.
What's the most hilarious thing that you've heard from the crowd, either directed at you or one of your teammates?
Well, a big Madison guy there, or went to Madison, is Big Jim. He's known as Jim Alphas. I forget his name, but I coached with him last year, and man, you can hear his booming voice just yelling at you, and yeah, it's pretty fun. I can't say any great clips I remember, but I could always hear him.
Well, it's funny because Jim is such a nice guy too, but he'll definitely bring the banter more than anybody else.
He's a pro heckler. He even wrote an article on it for Ultiworld.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So obviously, Colin, a good start for the Madison offense. 37 seconds, and the O-line starts smoothly.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and immediately after this point, I remember we were talking, they're playing hard man-to-man defense. Let's try to get some one-on-one matchups that we can exploit. They weren't coming down too junky, so, maybe for the first couple throws, but after that, it was really lockdown person defense. So we're just talking there about how we can try to exploit that over the next few points.
So I was excited to have both of you guys on tonight because we can really talk a lot of Madison offense versus Minnesota defense. Colin, do you know anything about your team's D-line? Jimmy, do you know anything about Minnesota's O-line? I mean, I feel like you guys are – Colin, you play O, Jimmy, you play D, and those are your roles.
Yeah, I know enough to comment on it. I wouldn't say I know every play they run.
I can tell you that they drive me crazy in practice because they know they're smart players. They know our tendencies. So, I have guys backing me by 10 yards, inviting me to touch the disc and try to huck it and trying to encourage me to huck it instead of scoring goals. And, they're in every single lane. You have Vic shooting up into random lanes all of a sudden trying to get poached Ds. We have guys coming out of nowhere trying to get those poached Ds when you have the disc, out of the handler set. So, Yeah, I'm very aware of them in practice, and they're certainly feisty and annoying to play against.
Or just not turn this disc over in the first place, you know. First possession.
Yeah, I think these past 2 years was really the first time Minnesota's ever had a good offensive line. Before that, we always struggled there. We had decent defense to get turns, but we never could get good handlers together to swing it enough and create movement. And having Plain with a few good people that can bounce it back and forth with him, and he can take his shots, it really was something fun to watch from them.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I've known Josh since he was in 4th grade and I was in 5th grade, so I give him a ton of crap. But, I mean, he is a rock on offense. Having a guy like that as your center handler is something that, you know, every team would want to have because he's very consistent with the disc, and he has every single throw that you can ever imagine. So, I mean, having that as your centerpiece of an offense is always going to, you know, make you have a, you know, at very least a competitive offense.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, did you and Clayne go to the same school since you were in 4th and 5th grade?
Yeah, we went to the same elementary school. We actually played on the 5th grade C basketball team. So there's an A, B, C team. We were on the C team. We weren't very good back then, but we both got better. But, but yeah, we played together that year, and it was funny. My dad actually coached that team. So Josh goes way back with my family and me personally. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
In a way, Josh's first coach was your dad.
Exactly. Probably for worse.
Did you guys start playing Ultimate, you and Clayne, around the same time, or did one of you start first? How did that go?
So I think we both. No, he started a year before me at Hopkins. So I think he was playing for 1 year. But he had always played at summer camp, and so he went to Herzl camp, and a bunch of other people from Herzl camp were actually on the same Hopkins team with all of us, and I was friends with all of them. My sister actually played on the girls team, so that kind of all led to me playing. So he was definitely part of the reason I started playing.
Awesome. Johnson Ajurley gets the wind chill on the board. Before getting too deep into the game, Jimmy, we talked about it with Clayne during another wind chill rewind, but you mentioned the O-line improving. A large part of that was the Winnipeg group that came down, Cam Bird and Jesse Greenberg. From your perspective, how did they add to your team, elevate your team?
Well, first off, they came in with a ton of energy. They were all super happy and excited to be there, and that just, from previous years, I feel like we kind of ribbed on each other a little bit, and this last year just felt super cohesive, and that was a lot due to them. Cam super well complimented Clayne in a handler spot, and I believe Ladymen went the whole season without a turnover, which was pretty incredible. Yeah, they were a blast to play with. I'm excited to keep them coming back. Jesse kind of hides too. He picks his moments to attack.
Yeah, and I think that's where we end up struggling at some points in this game, is just kind of unfamiliarity with a lot of these guys that were new to the wind chill, that are guys that are really good players that, you know, when you're not familiar with them, they can sneak up on you quick. I mean, look at Josh Potter acting like he's making crazy plays later on, spoiler alert, and, you know, other guys like Cam, he's just solid, you know. So you guys had a big kind of turnover in talent, and that was something I think we struggled with later on, because in the past, a lot of times when we got an early lead with you guys, it seemed to just carry its momentum. But I find with a lot of young players, it doesn't matter if you're up by 4 or 5, they always think that they can come back.
Yeah, this was one of my first games ever really getting to watch Potterack play too. He wasn't able to make it to every game last year, and he really fit into our team well. It was exciting to see a few of the plays he made here.
I think this was his wind chill debut, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe you're correct on that. And he sure made a good debut.
Right.
when they're not as spry.
So we're talking about Josh Potterack, who obviously helped to get Iowa State to college nationals last year. And this was, I think, 2 weeks before college nationals. And they were like, oh, he's really going to play 2 weeks before college nationals? But for the wind chill sake, it's a good thing he did play.
Yeah, he's super excited about playing. You got it.
I was going to say, when you're that young, you feel you can play every day of the week.
Taylor's got to be quick to get this disc off the line before that double team sets again.
We got stuck on the sideline against your D a lot. I'm surprised Klain made that throw out of there.
After they were broken on their first point.
Colin, what's your look if you're double teamed on the sideline against your defense in practice?
So we either want to get somebody directly behind or directly in front of the disc. I find when you're trying to, if you get trapped on the sideline and you're trying to like swing it off the sideline, there's always two people in your way. But normally if you're upfield or backfield, there's only one person you really have to get around. So that's kind of the look, is to have a reset upfield from you slightly or right backfield. And it's getting way too high. I just throw a hammer to the opposite side of the field.
When in doubt.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Dave Wiseman to Pat Try-Wise, launching to Tarek Akuse, and that is a rare Try-Wise turnover, just his third of the season.
So this is where our O-line struggled last year, is playing defense.
As we see Minnesota call a timeout here.
So we got bailed out there.
But that same
it's a timeout.
Lane, there's so little room for error if you don't float that disc perfectly going down that
Jimmy,
side.
do you get frustrated when you get a turn and then you don't get a chance for the glory because Coach Feldman or someone else calls a timeout?
I used to. It doesn't bother me anymore now that I've been around for a while. But yeah, it's there's been some people that threw a bit of a fit when you got a D and you have an open look downfield and hear the whistle for a timeout.
Hey, we got a timeout. I don't think there's a better time than now to ask at Bird Bear Balls.
Yeah, I actually took it off my Twitter for a while because my dad heckled me enough. It didn't look professional. It's an AUDL player, and then all my college friends kept tweeting at it, bring back Bird Bear Balls. So it's been back, and it's just an amalgamation of 3 of my different college nicknames. Jaybird, Jimmy Balls, which came from me playing a little bit of basketball. And then the bear one comes from a random nickname given to me that comes from the movie Super Troopers. So won't comment on that one.
That's a good reason.
Yep.
Colin, I kind of feel like my Twitter handle's kind of lame after hearing that story.
Taylor's been forced into O-line duties. You typically see him
right. We're basic.
Taking some of the toughest matchups, and now he's using his athleticism to dictate and be a receiving force.
So obviously, Minnesota gets the break back pretty quick.
Second goal of the season for Taylor, who has 4 Ds in 4 games. And that's a pretty big sequence. Winchell scoring 2 goals in the last 63 seconds. Because you get
Colin, any emotions at all about or excitement playing Minnesota because you grew up there, or is it just another Midwest opponent?
Oh, I mean, especially this year, having Feldman now being the coach, because I think last year was the first year as a coach. So, in particular, having somebody like that who was, kind of a mentor for me in a lot of ways, between just him being a Hopkins alum and then being the captain of the Hodags when I was a young player there. So, going against him was awesome. And then, obviously playing against a bunch of guys that I've known for years and competed against is great. And so, I mean, for me, it's definitely a personal rivalry. And it's something where I always want to make sure I'm playing well and playing my best against those guys.
One of those players that's been a fixture in this.
How many goals did Colin get in this game? Because that was just 1 there, and I know he scored at least 2 on me.
A bunch.
Yeah.
since the beginning.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you got about 5 or 6 Ds in the second half, Jimmy.
Yeah, we traded off a bit.
I'm pretty sure at one point I think I said stop throwing the effing disc to Jimmy during this game to my teammates.
Yeah, defense against you guys is always try to get you guys to huck it and get 50-50 balls up. And that's how it's always been, is one block, one goal, one block, one goal.
Yep.
Wow.
There's Josh sneaking out of the backfield when you least expect it.
I was gonna say, like, you never see Madison give up a goal that easily.
So again, we talked about this earlier on.
Yeah,
they're right. I mean, why would you cover Klein downfield?
Push him out of the handler set so that he can't hurt you with his.
That's what makes him so good, though. It's just like he doesn't try to do too much. If he's like, if you're forcing me upfield, I'll take you upfield and I'll go score a goal. And I mean, that's why I always compliment Klein as one of the elite handlers in the game. He's smart. He doesn't overthink the game.
Josh Klein with his first goal of the night, 1 goal and 1 assist so far.
But yeah, I hate to see him scoring goals deep. Come on.
He finished in the top 10.
Yeah, he recognizes pretty well. Bevon's the other guy who really holds our offense together. He's a very every other player, and he's just always moving, especially in the red zone.
Yeah, man.
He can beat anyone. His jabs are just so quick. He's the person on our team I hate guarding when we're in practice.
He's just like steadily got better every single year, and he's just so consistent. He's a tough guard. He's quick. He has great throws. I mean, his progression's been amazing.
Jimmy, who would you most often match up with in this game?
This one, I think I was on Colin the most part. It's kind of switched up with Madison. I've never had one person I guarded like consistently through the seasons. We kind of rotate everything, but yeah, I think I was on Colin good 60% of the time.
Yeah, I feel like you tend to take whoever's cutting deep the most for us, and I feel like in this game in particular, it was me. In the past, sometimes it's Peter. So yeah, I feel like you're typically on whoever's being the aggressive deep cut.
Yep. Yeah, and you commented on our defensive strategy right at the start and said we were in zone for a few throws and then man, and that's exactly what we did the whole game. We'd come down and show for a little bit and pick up. Yeah, we'll have to change that up now.
Jimmy, I don't think this Colin goal is your responsibility. I mean, you were no. So not. I mean, Colin, what is that?
Probably yelling.
That's your third goal already.
Yeah, something like that. Oh man, I miss Ben Nelson already. It's gonna be tough not having him anymore. He's another consistent guy for us that was just like a pretty steady center handler type that was always aggressive with getting resets, made it easy for you.
Is he the teammate that you're most sad to lose? I know it's an impossible
question.
No,
it's Pat. It's Pat. I don't think anybody will be offended that I say it's Pat. I love Pat. He's a great guy, great teammate, great leader. Like, not having a Pat Triwise on your team sucks. Like, he's so good. I miss him already.
Well, who knows? I mean,
is Pat who got the integrity last year? The integrity award? Is he who got that?
Yep.
I believe so.
Yep.
Yeah, he has a really good integrity call partway through this game too. We'll have to point out.
God, just a
dime. With a nice shot.
Man, Michael Jordan's super fast. His breakaway speed is very good.
Another Hopkins alum, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he? Sounds right.
They're everywhere.
Especially in this game.
37 goals plus 38 over 260 points played.
We've got a few young Duluth guys representing again now on the team. started out, when I first started playing, we had like 8 guys from UMD on the team, and then I was the only one for a while, but we roped in a few freshmen. Or a few young guys. Yeah.
Who are the other Duluth guys?
Raheem and Tyler Tomgren.
Okay.
I never played with Raheem in college, but I played with Tyler his freshman season.
Oh.
And that was when they forced me to play offense for a year.
Colin, in the chat, Jesus Caballero, if that's how you pronounce it, says MJ is Edina, not Hawkeye.
Oh, okay. He knows better than me. I like him less now that he went to Edina.
How much do the throwers think about the win?
Oh boy.
God.
I rewatched this 100 times. He throws the same throw like the next quarter too. Beat me twice.
It's
just
insane.
that it's such an unusual thing. I'm expecting a slow backhand, and I always feel like I'm in perfect position, and just such a laser.
Some of the throws Kevin throws, I'm just like, he shouldn't be humanly possible.
For another Madison score. Well, nice shot there from Nelson, but to get back to your question, Evan, I think it's something they're incredibly cognizant of.
That's a guy that was going to be
4 goals.
huge.
Kevin Brown with that gorgeous floater.
Sorry, 4 goals for Colin, 2 assists and a goal for Kevin Brown. I mean, it's been KB and Colin have been the Madison offense so far.
Well, and I was just going to say, you know, Kevin was primed to have a huge year this year. I mean, early season, he was in incredible shape. I mean, he was going to have like MVP caliber season with some of the guys that we had lost, the positions that we were going to need filled on our offensive line. Like Kevin was primed to have a huge year, so it was really disappointing to not have this season because I think he was going to take the league by storm. I mean, I know people already know about him, but I think he was going to take it up another level.
It's funny, Colin, and I kind of expected him to do that a couple of years ago. Like, I saw that potential in him, and it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that. And I feel like, I don't want to say he underachieved the last couple of years, but thought because and perhaps that was because of injury.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. I know, so last season he dealt with some injuries. The year before he dealt with some injuries. But also, like, so in 2018 in particular, Peter Graffi played the best season I've ever seen somebody play. I mean, that guy was playing out of his mind. Pat was playing out of his mind. And Kevin was just being a great teammate and saying, you know, we don't need 3 guys that are all-stars. We need 2 guys that are all-stars and a bunch of role players, and that's how we're going to succeed. And I think he intentionally took a step back from trying to be a star player to be more of a role player because that's what we needed in that situation. And that's what helped us win a championship is, you know, having a guy like Kevin fill a role as opposed to, you know, really asserting himself when he didn't need to because guys like Pat and Peter were just playing like out of their minds.
In the comments, Dan Hunt asks, Colin, which Brown is the best thrower?
They're so different. You can't even compare them. I mean, Andrew Brown's the best technical thrower I think I've ever met. I mean, his breakthrough throws are incredible, but Andrew Brown can't throw some of the throws that Kevin can. Like the flick hook that Kevin threw, Andrew could never throw that in a million years. But Andrew has the best break throws I think I've ever seen.
Back to Shriwise. Over the top, looking for Camp, but that is intercepted.
That's number 1.
It a little more.
There's one.
Yeah.
First quarter. Over the top.
That wasn't that was more on the throw. But that Pat threw that, right? That's 2 turnovers in the quarter for Pat, which has probably happened once or twice in his career.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get many of those games out of Pat.
Yeah, I think he was probably hoping we had a double team on there and we'd have a miscommunication so he could get an easy throw over, but got lucky and read it right.
Jimmy, are you on the field a lot in end of quarter situations, even if it's on offense, for buzzer beater situations?
End of quarter, I'm always on the field, which is nice. Just get told to put my head down and sprint when I'm on offense. But yeah, end of quarters can be quite interesting. Even if you have good positioning on defense on a huck, there's so many bodies coming in that can affect where you're going to step to take off and try to get it its highest point. You really got to find a matchup and kind of be shoulder to shoulder and pick your spot right away.
Colin Camp floats it. Tarek
This.
unable to make the catch.
That hurts.
Luke, let's see that again, because I mean, I want to give Colin a hard time, but it looks like a pretty good throw.
28 seconds remaining when the disc went out of bounds. Brown initiates to Shriwise. Here's Annan.
Colin, is there any thought? Are you paying attention at all to the clock? Like, work it down more, or I mean, you have this shot. I'm going to take it.
Anytime we're under 30 seconds, I'm thinking we just got to try to get the goal. You know, if you try to get too cute, you get in a situation where all of a sudden there's 5 seconds left and you're throwing some weird throw. So I think in general our philosophy, you know, under 30 seconds, if we can get a score, we'll get a score, and we'll put our tall guys out there to try to defend a last second hug.
Both teams leaving some opportunities on the table.
But yeah, I mean, these situations are, I mean, this is what makes the AUDL unique. And, you know, I like the format of it is, you know, this ends up being a half break right here because really we should be up by 1 ending the quarter since we started on offense. But, you know, you have that drop there and all of a sudden you're down to half break. And, you know, in club, we would still be on serve in theory. Assuming that we could get a stop here.
Sure.
In a moment.
There's the championship banner.
Championship banner. Is there any kind of curse involved with the banner? That was the question I had at the end of the night. It's a nice banner. I mean, it's a beauty.
I know Tim was very excited to unveil that. I mean, Tim's worked really hard, you know, between the league and the Radicals, so he was excited to unveil that.
In the semifinals, Dallas in the finals, and that banner, an emblematic reminder of the glory.
Colin, what do you remember the most about the aftermath of winning the championship, like at the stadium and the celebration that night?
Certainly better place than the Nashville.
It was the whole thing. It just felt like chaos the whole time, which I loved. I mean, you know, it was lots of hugs. It was lots of tears. You know, so many of us that played in that championship game had been playing together on the Radicals for 4, 5, 6 years for some people. I guess 5 years is the most. But yeah, like, I mean, it was just a culmination of a lot of hard work. And, you know, after that, we went over to the Brass Ring, which was our kind of go-to bar. And I know all of us partook in a few too many victory drinks, I think, and shenanigans ensued.
That throw right there was a big mistake by Klein. Threw it right into KPS poaching back there. I'm not sure what he saw. I'm impressed Cam almost got this, though.
No kidding.
He's pretty athletic still.
Looks like we've got some medical attention for.
Saw that head kind of bounce on the landing.
Oh yeah, they did the whole eye test on the field for like 2 minutes here. Forgot about that.
Wonder if that 9 years old.
Looks like he was okay.
A few years away from the
yeah, he just had to be checked out.
29 years old. Spent most of his life around Winnipeg. Played collegiately at the University of Winnipeg.
I remember I may mention this on the broadcast at some point, but I think I first remember watching Burden play at Beach Worlds. I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2017 in Dubai or in France. But he was on Canada Open or Canada Mix, one of the two. I don't remember. He caught like 3 times as many goals as any other player on the team. And in the stats, and then you watched him, it was just like, I think it was mixed, because I think it was Jeremy and Justin Norden and Cam on their O-line for Beach, and they just kind of did everything together. And Cam, the Nordens are both throwers, and Cam would just, you couldn't stay with him on sand.
Yeah, he weaves.
Yeah,
really well.
He seems like the type of player that'd be a great beach player.
He may have led the
I've
division.
still never played any beach ultimate. Need to get around to that one of these days.
You're missing out. Being tall is great. If you're not quick, being tall is awesome because nobody can jump. So just being tall helps a lot.
And the Radicals keep it alive on the Luo layout. Remarkably similar to the championship weekend last year, but the Radicals turn it over.
And a quick timeout.
So close to the goal line. Check out Luo keeping things alive.
This is like the other player conserves greatness for his teammate.
Well,
I think I said that on the air too.
I think it was Coolidge that threw it away, and he never throws the disc away. He's like the most conservative player we have.
Yeah.
They're going to have to resort to burning a timeout just to give their offense enough legs to try and preserve this hold.
Second and final timeout of the half. Does look like they're going to try to keep the majority.
Jimmy, would you characterize Feldman as more of an offensive coach or defensive coach?
After having to play defense.
Offensive, for sure. That's where his mindset is. He kind of lets the D-line. He gives us suggestions, but lets us pick our own kind of calls on matchups and such. He's everything he writes up is offense oriented for the most part, but that's why we need a good assistant coach. We've had kind of turnover in assistant coach every year, so need a good D-line coach. We got Kelsey Percy going to be our assistant this year, though. Pretty good.
Standings right now, and not to give spoilers, but the teams that make the playoffs are in 2nd, 3rd, and 5th in the standings right here.
Craziness.
Pittsburgh 0-3.
Not a lot of time right now to make up a 4-goal deficit, let alone advance by 3.
If you want to make picks,
yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh went on a heck of a run. I mean, Max Shepard started playing out of his mind, and that team was completely different. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, he's
Jimmy,
he's
did
what
you
they
have to
needed.
guard
They've always
Max at
had
all?
really good. I guarded him a few years ago. I didn't guard him much last year. But yeah, he's brought that team together because they've had athletes and they've just never had someone to hold it together. Their first season, they had Tyler DiGirolamo, who roasted us, but then he was out because of injuries and such after that. So I think they would have been a fight for you guys in the next couple of years if they'd kept him around. He was probably the hardest matchup I've had.
That takes some courage.
Tyler.
I mean, I think Tyler's one of the biggest what ifs of all time in Ultimate.
Yeah.
Like him and Will Driscoll are like my two biggest what ifs. If they were still playing today, because those two were just incredible players.
Colin, did you match up with Tyler DiGirolamo early in your college career?
A little bit. It was mainly he played a lot of D points for Pittsburgh when we were matching up with each other in finals, and I think the year before that. I mean, the year before that we played him a bunch too, but he would guard me a lot.
Right.
Yeah, we had some good matchups over the years because he played a lot of D in those. I mean, he played both ways,
right?
But he was playing a lot of D points too. So yeah, him and I match up a ton.
It wasn't it the 2012 final was Wisconsin Pitt? Is that right?
Yep. The game of Alex Thorne just carving us up with his throws.
Right. Not to make this about me, but that's the last college championship game that I haven't broadcast. I've broadcast every college championship since then. So, but I've watched that one.
Was that like CBS Sports Network or something like that back then?
Yeah, I think I was Kevin Delaney and was Kyle Weisbrod still doing it then? I think it was Kevin and Kyle. Anyway,
right. Yeah.
So Colin, you've got 5 goals right now. The score is 7-7. The game's not even 15 minutes old. And again, not to spoil it, but you score 1 goal the rest of the way. Is that an adjustment that Minnesota makes? Is it just kind of the natural ebb and flow? Or is it Madison's offense getting out of its system over the next couple quarters? What do you? Because like right now, you've been open in the end zone making plays. You've scored 5 goals. It's 7-7.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of Minnesota making adjustments and also just kind of the ebb and flow of the games. I mean, our offense, very rarely on our offense are we consistently trying to get the disc to a certain person. We are trying to get the disc to a person in a space. It doesn't really matter who that person is. So we often go into points, saying this is the play we want to run. This is the result that we want. It doesn't matter if it's coming to me, if it's coming to Tarek, if it's coming to Kevin Brown. That we're not worried about who's necessarily getting the disc. It's more what kind of flow we want to have. So that's where the ebb and flow comes into it a little bit. And then, obviously I think, Feldman's a smart guy, and I'm sure, I don't remember too much, but I'm sure he's probably telling his guys, okay, time to force Colin under, make him a thrower, don't let him score any more goals, because, I've caught, 2 or 3 deep already, so I'm sure they're going to make an adjustment here because they're a smart team.
Jimmy, do you have any recollection of sideline conversations in terms of, hey, we got to stop Colin from scoring?
I don't. I feel like, oh wow, that's a big huck. I was just gonna say I feel like they've been playing it fairly slowly and then they huck it, but yeah, I didn't think our D was doing too bad, and I don't think we made any huge adjustments this early. I think they just started moving it around more, and maybe we tired Colin out a little bit after that many sprints.
And Minnesota's D-line marching downfield, but a travel was called. This is going to come all the way back. It's not a turnover.
Luke, can you go back 5 seconds or so? Can we see that? See if it was a travel? 5 more seconds. Back to the throw before. I guess 5 more. Here's the throw.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about that either.
Looks like he
picked up his back foot a little, but it's kind of a nitpicky one, but those happen. I'd rather travels and picks be called more than they need to be than not at all.
That's a defender right there, claiming that. Colin, you just yearning for more travels to get called?
No. No, but I do think more picks need to be called, because I do think sometimes those have a bigger effect on the game than travels.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, I feel like so many travels don't actually result in any sort of advantage for anybody, but picks definitely do.
Was nowhere close. He was the intended target.
Gotta wonder if Hughes was maybe blending into the sign.
So this is kind of where the Madison offense gets a little stagnant. I mean, you had the one deep shot that Jimmy ate up. You get the disc back. Spoiler alert, you're not going to score on this, this particular possession. Colin, tell me what you're seeing. I mean, obviously the Minnesota defense is settling in a little bit, and what worked well early is not working great now.
Yeah, so I mean, right now what I'm seeing is a lot of people all over the field and not actually getting into any sort of formation that we normally want. So, often we want to be in a horizontal look. We have the two people in the middle being active, the two people on the sideline really just kind of hanging out and not doing too much. But when we get in some situations, especially in longer points, sometimes that breaks down. And we all of a sudden have four people cutting in the middle of the field, and that's where our offense starts to look really, really bad. And that's where teams actually really take advantage of it. And that's what happened last year. And so it's funny because we were actually planning on basically overhauling our entire offense this year to try to prevent that from happening and make it a little bit easier for us to not have situations where four people would be in the middle of the field cutting at the same time and having a little bit more structure to our offense. So we were kind of excited to unveil that this year as well, but we'll have to wait till next year on that.
That was my favorite point of the whole last season.
Why is that?
Well, I had to call. I followed Colin initially, moved it up 10 yards, and then I got the block and was able to take over and throw the assist. I love when I get assist stats because it doesn't happen that often. And I don't know how I got that one. He should have had that block. It was a bad throw.
Yeah, that was one of your 3 assists all season last year.
Yep.
But I mean, you had 28 freaking blocks. Is that...
Yeah, I was kind of calm on offense last year. I let other people take over and only went when I needed to once we got the turn. My first season, I was the madman that just sprinted everywhere all the time. Gotten a little smarter and let other people do some things.
I thought you led the league in blocks last year, and I was right. No one had more blocks than you did last year.
Yep.
And 2 of them were against Colin on that point, so that's why I had to bring you 2 together. Jimmy, I don't know if you're following the chat, but Brandon Mattis said you're still not a thrower.
Well, fair.
Is he a thrower?
That's a fair point.
Yeah, there's a good call out. He should be happy. I've thrown him like all his highlight layouts. He gives me crap about that all the time.
Mattis also had just 3 assists last year. and he had 8 blocks, and Jimmy, you had 28 blocks. So Jimmy, I think you can just stare at him and nod your head.
Needing to have patience against the Madison zone, and aside
happily.
from a few flashes or maybe 5-second transition looks, we haven't seen a lot of Madison zone so far this game. And you got to wonder if that's something they might turn to or throw more of if they're still trying to claw back in.
1-on-2 deep shot. There was certainly contact, but the disc falls incomplete.
There were just some weird throws in this game. I mean, that was another one where, I mean, he wasn't open. There was double coverage. Not a decision that you would typically anticipate.
Discover the equalizer here.
Yeah, we had a huck 5 minutes ago, too, that the defender was 10 feet in front of the offense, and it made no sense. Must have just been some miscues.
No, just kidding. It's timeout from the Radical sideline. So Luo and Bruce won't be the handlers.
So Tim DeBile's like, we got to get Colin back onto the field. Let's take a timeout.
Tim DeBile wanting to even this game up at 9 apiece. Look at that record.
47-1 all time versus the Midwest at Bree Stevens Field.
May 12th, 2013, the second game in Radical's whole history.
That record got a little tarnished last year, unfortunately.
Yeah. I still don't think any team will have a record like that again.
No, yeah, I don't think so either.
Pretty incredible.
It is incredible. Hey, Jimmy, when we were chatting with Klain during a Wind Chill AlleyCats rewind, he said something that, like, Brendan McCann was one of the best teammates he's ever had. What kind of teammate is Brendan McCann?
missing this evening?
You know, he's kind of a quiet guy that does his role super well and always pretty positive. I haven't had a chance to really get to know him that well, actually.
Okay.
Probably one of the guys I know lesser on the team, but super fun guy. Is he
Playing with Boston now?
What team is it now? Yeah, Boston. That's the new team. I'm excited to watch him on that. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm wondering if Clayne played with him in college or against him too. So.
Colin, do you shed a little tear watching Nelson to Shriwise for the score?
Yeah. Combination I'll never see anymore. It's sad. They were there from the beginning. So yeah, it's gonna be weird times. It was gonna be weird this year not playing with them, and yeah, when that day comes, it's gonna be it's just a strange game without them on the O line.
Shaping up tonight in the Midwest Division, you've got Pittsburgh leading.
And Wiseman's gone too. I mean, our whole O-line's gonna look different, come next year. Which it's exciting in ways, but it's also sad to see so many guys that were there from day one that are gone now. But you get it. I mean, that's part of being a sports franchise or a team of any sort. People come and go, so it's opportunities for new people.
In addition to you and Kevin Brown and presumably Avery Johnson, who would have been the other 4 primary O-line players this year if there had been a season for the Radicals and there was no pandemic and everyone was healthy?
So we really hadn't even settled on that yet. The only other 2 that we had really settled on were Dylan Power and Victor Liu. So those are going to be 2 guys really holding it down for us. So Bill Everhart was going to be back on the team this year. He was probably going to be our third handler, just as like a nice, centering handler, or just even a reset either way. And then there was a number of guys that were still kind of in the running for Cutter. We really hadn't even figured that out yet, to be honest.
This is like finding change under your couch. The Grandin to Weiland Huck to take a lead after being down 9-7.
Yeah, you don't expect that, but yeah, I mean, CG has he can rip the disc, and he's another guy with just smart with his throws, and so you don't see those as much, but in practice when he's throwing hucks, it's like, oh, this guy can really throw it, and he's another guy that. He's still really young and has, a high ceiling in front of him as well, and is a guy that I think will step up for us over the next few years as well. In a defensive role as a guy that's more aggressive when he has the disc in his hands, and as well as just a guy that can make plays. Sterling with a shaved face. I missed that shaved face. He needs to invest in a razor.
This progression right here, I believe that's Brendan. That was just swing and strike, keeping it moving there.
Yeah.
Now that I'm watching him more, not just play, he filled in well with us, even though he hadn't played with most of us for very long.
Jimmy, I'm glad you pointed that out. That's good stuff. And Colin, I don't know what you're talking about with Sterling and his razor. He was a guest on my Wednesday night Instagram show a couple weeks ago, and I thought he looked beautiful. So I hope he keeps it and lets it really explores the studio space for that thing.
Oh, that's where I saw that beard. Don't you worry.
You never miss an episode.
Not when my guys are coming on the squad, or anybody on the squad. I want to listen to what they have to say and what they're up to, because it's tough right now. I appreciate people in Madison because they're doing a really good job of listening to what health experts are saying and socially distancing. But it makes me sad because I don't see them as often.
I hear you.
He's in the end zone, which is not a bad ratio. Tom Annan doing his work downfield at the start of the point.
Foot it? No.
For so many years, Ian, it was Annan and Andrew Brown in the backfield together. but this Madison offense, I think, recognized at times last year that it got a little stale, and they evolved. They became more dynamic, adding Peter Graffey, pulling back.
Colin, is this fair commentary about the Radicals' offense getting a little stale at times in 2018? Is that fair?
Those versatile offensive players.
Oh, that's spot on. I was literally just about to say that was a great analysis by you. Excuse me, because that's exactly what Tim and I had talked about, as well as Pat. Just being more aggressive with our throws upfield as well as our movement upfield. And Tom and Andrew are great, but they're very conservative and very small ball type players, and we kind of wanted to open up the field a little bit because there's plenty of space to exploit in the AUDL.
Oh, I didn't notice he bobbled that on the first watch.
That's about as scary as it gets as a receiver, when you don't make that catch cleanly and the disc is fluttering in front of you.
It's a terrifying feeling.
Yeah. Brown had a really nice forehand, like just 10-foot throw there that I've never been able to throw a just short forehand with that much love. It's those little plays that it's not just his hucks. Very good handler.
That's why you got to run some tip drill at the end of practice, just like they do in football. You never know. End of quarter situation, easy missed pancake.
Jimmy, who are the up-and-comers for you guys this year?
Well, Potterak for sure. Let's see.
Oh, Josh.
Yeah, Josh Potterak is. Oh, yeah. Who else is upcomers? Trying to think. I mean, all the Winnipeg guys. I don't know how many of them had played in the league before. I think a lot of them were rookies to the league.
Yeah.
Not necessarily showing urgency to score.
Yeah, Ladyman had not played in the league before. Obviously, Quinn Snyder had not played in the league before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how I... Quinn amazed me. He's the first person I've guarded on our team that I thought I can't let go deep because he's more athletic than me. And he reads it super well. Yeah. Usually I'm the same athleticism as them, and hopefully I can read it better. Him, I have to get ahead of him because he's so fast. I mean, one of the indie game of the week she replayed a while back, he had like 4 layouts in a row where I thought he was overthrown, and he somehow gets to them all. I'm excited to watch him progress.
That's your fourth.
Yeah. I was surprised to see that disc. I turned around and it was right at my head. Read it too well.
No timeouts for Minnesota. Alan Scarth.
I mean, we weren't planning on doing this, but I mean, Colin, you've got most of your goals. Jimmy, you got most of your D. Should we bring in our second half analysts? Because you guys really, were first half stars in this game. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, somebody call Josh real quick. Josh Potterak, not Klein.
And the wind chill were poised for most of that final stretch, but Brendan McCann a little flustered.
Too bad Tate Hallberg's, I don't believe, was playing in this game. Living with him now, I could have handed off the headset to him.
I think they'll both admit that wasn't their cleanest half.
That would have been some eventful commentary in the second half, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, this game 6-6. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I'm excited to see Tate play next year because he was injured with a quad the entire season last year. He'd play half a game and re-tear it every time. So, but I had a fun time matching up against him when he played for Detroit. We were a very 50-50 matchup.
So 6-6 after 1, 11-all at the half. I mean, Colin, you guys jumped out 2-0. We're up 3-1, and then found yourself down 9-7. So I mean, each team has had a 2-goal lead and blown a 2-goal lead. what do you recollect about what the conversation was at halftime? Jimmy, we'll start with you.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out what was going on in this halftime show. What was,
Me too.
What were we thinking at halftime? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, basically, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, we were pretty happy to be tied with them at half. I don't know if there's been many situations we've been that close with Madison going into the half. We just wanted to keep the pressure on. I don't think there was a whole lot of talk about anything. We were just pretty focused at that point.
Yeah, Colin, I mean, it's understandable. They're the underdog. They're 2-2. You're 2-0. You're the defending champs. They're on the road. They were down too early, and they're tied at the half. They're feeling pretty good. How are the Radicals feeling?
I mean, I think we were still in a good headspace too. I mean, it's one of those things we kind of got punched in the mouth in the second quarter. We clawed our way back, and we always pride ourselves in being a second half team. So if we're within one, we're up one, we're tied at half, we're comfortable right there. And, we always think that we're going to win, in the third and fourth quarter. So I mean, at this point, we're not feeling any pressure. We know we have a good feeling of what they're doing. Like Jimmy was saying, their plan was to come down and junk it up early and then just go to straight person defense after that. We were confident in our ability to break through that and fight through that. So I think we're in a good headspace at that point. We're confident going in the second half.
Colin, a name that we didn't mention at all in the first half is Peter Graffey, and it's because he wasn't playing in this game. How significant was that for you guys? Obviously, you mentioned that he had an all-world type season the year before.
Yeah, I mean, both, having him and Pat kind of living in Chicago last year and still trying to play for us was really tough. They were key components of our championship team the year before. So anytime Peter's gone, that changes our offense. It changes the roles for each player on the O-line too. And so, that makes it tough, planning for that going into the week and then executing that as well, because having Peter is the type of thing you always want in your back pocket. He has every throw in the book. He's athletic as anybody on the field. He's as fast as anybody on the field. So, whenever you're missing a guy like that, it's always going to put you at a disadvantage.
Well said. All right, third quarter action about to begin. And obviously an 11-11 game. Just pulling up Graffey's stats. Graffey played all 12 regular season games in 2018. I say all 12. That was a 14-game season 2 years ago. Last year only played 6 games. And obviously, the second half of the season wasn't the same type of motivation for y'all. But that's certainly a factor.
Yeah, and one of the things we struggled with all season was, who's going to fill that role. And I think we were trying to find one person to fill that role instead of having multiple people fill that role. I don't think anybody was well suited as a single player to fill his role. It was something that we needed to do collectively. And again, that was something that we had shifted our mindset this off season to try to fix is, we don't need one person to be a Peter Graffey or a Pat Trywise, but we do need their production filled, and that can be filled by multiple players. But it is kind of creating a role for people that they can play within. And last year, we didn't really have clearly defined roles at times, and it was because Peter and Pat were still around, but not totally around. And it's not to blame them in any way, but it was just, it really was a transition year for a lot of people, especially on our O-line.
Yeah. Well, just like the first quarter, you guys score in about 30 seconds to start the third quarter.
Yeah, and this is where we're feeling great then. We're up one. It's like, here we go. Third quarter, this is where we bury them.
Yeah, I can tell you Klain was feeling good here. I zoomed in on him a minute ago, just grinning on the sideline before this third quarter started.
To be there. By the way, Ben Nelson just picked up his 5th assist of the game on that Kevin Brown goal.
You guys are trapping us a little here.
Coolidge continues to get the Klain challenge.
Never like stuck right on the sideline.
I was going to say not to give away our defensive strategy too much, but we are always going to be okay with people throwing open side unders to the sideline.
Little give and go with Klein. Over the top. That disc hangs up there, but it's caught by Taylor as the bodies tumble around him. Minnesota.
There's another underappreciated athlete, I think, is Jordan Taylor. He's a very athletic guy that makes plays and is just a very consistent player that plays within his role.
Yeah, he doesn't make many dumb throws, and he's very explosive.
Getting a face full from Jordan Taylor's midsection.
Except you'll see at the very end of this game he makes a little mistake.
I don't remember that.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it kind of might have been missed by the camera, but I believe he thought the clock had run out and chucked it up in the air with like 2 seconds left.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then everyone was like, wait, is the game over? But yeah, it worked out fine.
It was bizarre. Colin, I don't know if you're following the comments, but Cam Brock of the AlleyCats wants to know your Central Division Colin rankings as of late July 2020.
I think there's only 3 of us, right, Cam? I think it's me, Colin Ringwood, and Colin Grandin. I'm gonna put Colin Grandin over Colin Ringwood. I'm gonna get myself in trouble because I like Colin Ringwood too. He's gonna get mad at me for saying that, but I'll put myself 1, Colin Grandin 2, and Colin Ringwood 3. I bet Cam.
They don't have the headbands. They don't have the headbands like you have. What's the deal with this ninja type thing that you've got on tonight?
I just like to mix it up and have fun every once in a while. Change it up, do different flair. I don't know. It's part of like I think my personality wants to keep people loose on the O-line, and so it's doing goofy things where people can laugh at me. It keeps them loose. If they can give me crap during the game, that's going to help people just, stay calm and not, overthink things. So I like it, I feel like it takes the pressure off some of my teammates when they can just, joke at me and laugh at me. And so I like to do that type of stuff.
And a whistle on the pull.
That was another one of Andrew Brown's just amazing flicks there.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Slowly marching to midfield, that's where they will begin. Gonna drive the coaching staff nuts.
Hey, Cam,
I've never seen Plain knock it out of a double team.
Tim DeBile has a few scattered gray hairs already, but maybe a couple more after that.
Yeah.
Offsides call.
That'd be a good conversation, and I'm not sure off the top of my head like what my top 5 would be, but top 5 throwers against double teams in the league. Other than Klein, anyone else immediately come to mind? I mean, probably Harper Garvey.
1 second he's pivoting, the next
certainly.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
I feel
we've
like
double teamed some and gave up on it.
To a receiver who was already several yards deep, maybe on the edge of the goal line.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Say that again, Jimmy.
Oh, I was saying Pallianis, I feel like no matter what we do on D, we just contain him. We don't try to double team, and he can just roast us. He's very smart about getting a throw off at any angle. Especially when he's playing with Raider. Could float it in the air.
Question of where you put Josh Klein amongst all of those main quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dalton Smith's probably the guy that's up there. I would guess like an Andrew Roney's probably up there. I mean, Max Shepard. I mean, I feel like in the Midwest more than any other division, that's where I see a lot of double teaming. So it's like just those primary handlers on those Midwest teams are the guys that are just so good at breaking double teams. And really, like, the double team is more just to stop them from hucking because they're just great throwers in general. You look at a Pavel or Josh or Max Shepard, they all have just great throwing ability, and so it's just trying to slow them down.
And perhaps, tell me if I'm wrong, but perhaps the difference between the top throwers on the Midwest teams in those conditions is more sizable than the difference between the top throwers and other throwers in other divisions, especially with the conditions not necessarily being as much of a factor. on average.
Easily top 5.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Absolutely.
From pure throwing ability, if we're
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the Midwest, just get the disc out of Pavel's hands. Just get the disc out of Shep's hands. Force someone else to try and beat you.
Oh, yeah, that's our strategy every time, and I'm not giving away any strategic tips there. People know that already. You don't want Pavel touching it 100 times a game because that's going to be a bad recipe for you.
2-0 in the first quarter. Game back to tie it, though. We were tied 6-all at the end of the first.
Hope Pavel's all right. It's unlike him to not be blasting the comment section, but I assume Trusty's doing okay.
Yeah, I'm sad. I was hoping he'd be blowing me up and giving me some crap.
There's still time. There's still time.
Him and Josh, I expected to be blowing up my phone, but that's okay.
Rolling around, securing the break. Minnesota wind chill up 14-13 here in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I'll give the wind chill a ton of credit. I mean, we came out early in the third quarter. We scored right away, and they seem unfazed. I mean, you guys are relatively smooth at the disc. You're not forcing too many throws, and you're still playing lockdown defense on us, making it tough on our O-line. So, I mean, again, I don't think we're panicking yet, but it's one of those things where this is a lot different than what it was normally like playing the wind chill in years past.
Yeah, usually we could put it together for a quarter or two, but it was never a consistent 4 with our offense. And here, everyone stayed chilly, it seemed like it. It was fun to watch and well play.
And the Radicals overthrow Coolidge.
Scarth.
Quick timeout called by Ben
Timeout
Feldman
called.
from the wind chill sideline. Minnesota trying to stretch the lead to 2.
I mean, this is when the wind chill are really gaining confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good timeout call. If we had, I don't remember if we convert this or not, but this is a big point to try to get up to. Is not yet.
According to my play-by-play, I have a sense of what's coming here.
In a national championship final when he played in the collegiate national championship game in Boulder back in 2011.
Ooh, they're talking about Feldman's record turnover game. I love it.
Oh,
Heck
yeah.
Toner. Bring that up, Toner. I love it.
And Carlton faced that year.
Yeah, 35-mile-an-hour winds or whatever they were playing in there.
Ooh, it was something like that. It might have been worse than that. That was the worst conditions I've ever played in my entire Ultimate career.
You were in that game?
Yes. Yeah, that was unbearable to try to even throw the disc 10 yards. Impossible.
Is that your freshman year, sophomore year?
That's my sophomore year.
Okay. In North Central Regionals against Carlton, and there was 35-mile-per-hour winds and a million turnovers?
No, that was in the national championship game.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, it was us against Carlton in the championship.
It was said before, narrowly escaped in their game against the Ottawa Outlaws. Got a feel for this Ottawa team.
That was that was the 5-bid year too, wasn't it? Where Duluth qualified, or was that 2012?
2012 was when we qualified. Yep, got in with the fifth bid.
I love it.
And we didn't qualify for regionals. That's the crazy part about that one.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
A team decided not to go to regionals, so we got to go, and then made it.
Oh man.
That's
story.
For any of you who saw the end of that game on AUDL TV,
that's wild.
Cam Harris was.
That was the last year.
Single coverage going
Nationals was in Boulder as well, which was just a gorgeous setup.
Yeah.
Rightly asked the question, what are the other defenders doing and what are they taking away and why isn't anyone else there to help?
Colin, how many goals did you score in the semis in college nationals that year?
Yeah, I saw Lou there. That I scored 8 goals in the semis against Colorado, the best Colorado team. That Colorado team should have won the championship that year. That team was stacked. That was like the Maddie's demo. Jimmy was a young player on that team. Tim Morrissey. God, who were their older guys on that team? They had a bunch of really good guys. Xander Padgett, I think, was on that team.
Was Pavel on the team?
Was on that. I think that was before Pavel. But Hilke was on that team. No offense to Jimmy, but I think Hilke is still the toughest matchup I've ever had.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, Hilke in his prime was, God, he was hard to get open on. I don't think Mark was on the team either. I think Mark was a year after that as well. And Stanley wasn't on the team yet, or maybe he was a freshman. But yeah, they were loaded. They had a ton of talent, and we played the game of our life. Feldman played the game of his life too.
Who played for the Radicals last year.
That's right.
And now is back on the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. Pretty good list. Jimmy Kittleson, 130 block season, although it seems like he's on his way to joining.
Colin, is that your dog I hear in the background?
Entered tonight with 10.
No, that's not my dog.
That's Jimmy's puppy. He's out golfing and a little separation anxiety with the dog, but just barking at the door.
To go in this third quarter. Radicals looking for the equalizer again.
Couldn't trap you on the sideline, Colin. I tried my best.
Madison franchise has had so much success at home and on the road, but especially here at Stevens Field, where they have been virtually unbeatable. Nate Bosher from Ben Nelson.
That's the type of end zone offense you want. A lot of short, quick throws, throw and goes, people filling in. When we do that, that's fun for us, and that makes it a lot easier.
Last year with these Radicals.
One of the 6 goals Nate Bosher had last year, by the way.
Just don't bother with any of those years of heartbreak.
He had 6 goals? That surprises me. I didn't know he ever scored goals. I just thought he threw them.
Colin, was Nate the best puller the Radicals have ever had?
Yeah, by a lot.
Okay.
Some of the pulls he would throw, where he can throw it the whole length of the AUDL field and put it in the back corner of the end zone. It's unbelievable.
Well, we've seen Madison transition a number of those guys. We see a hammer go up.
A difficult hammer. You can tell as soon as it left Minoka's hands, it was not going to reach.
Bevon has one of those a game. I tell him that every year. He has one just, what were you thinking on that throw? And then everything else is perfect and clean.
Radicals O-line handler Ben Nelson used to be a
seems like a reasonable
specialist, and
yeah, I'm good with that trade-off.
Converted into that O-line role, so a lot of experience with this coaching staff and cultivating talent that can.
It's funny, like rewatching this game, I'm just waiting for the moment. Like, all right, is this where we're gonna get the break and we're just gonna pull ahead and win? Like, I keep thinking it's going to happen, but I already know the end result.
And here's a touch for Dylan Power, who's the lone.
Yeah, the game seems a little slower paced now. It was a lot of hucking that first quarter. Both offenses are being a little chillier.
Was on the Wildfire roster last year, but didn't play in any games.
Colin, tell me about Dylan Power. What were your first impressions of him? My sense is that he's going to be an important player for your franchise in the future years.
And there is the young Whitewater student scoring the goal to put the Radicals in front 15-14.
Colin, I think we lost you. You're muted or something.
I'm not here
accidentally.
Pretty nice time for your first AUDL goal coming in the.
It was all going so smoothly too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he just looks a little frozen, but we can analyze that score because they swung that back and forth across the field there.
Can you guys hear me now?
I mean, we got you, Colin.
Cool.
Colin, Dylan Power, go.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, like, he's a young guy oozing with talent, and like in a really good way. He's just like an irrational confidence guy, where it's like he thinks he has every throw, and he does have just about every throw. So I mean, I think he's gonna be one of the center line for a bunch of years to come, because he's just like, for a guy at 20 years old, he has all the throws and is a very athletic handler.
It's tough for those young guys to break into the Radicals lineup on game day.
Well, in a year like 2019, when they're coming off a championship.
I mean, here we had Minnesota, or Madison was up 13-12, and then Minnesota was up 14-13, and now we got Madison up 15-14, and pretty soon it'll be Minnesota's turn again.
This Radicals team could look very different in 2020 with many.
Well, yeah, and again, credit to Minnesota, just working up the field, swinging it back and forth, taking what we're giving them, staying calm.
Their last year playing for the Radicals. Some are going to move, some are going to retire. Every player.
Yeah, we're talking about the Radicals changing in the guard a little bit.
Need some youthful energy, especially as you see the other teams in the Midwest rising up.
Yeah, Madison's offense, I feel like they play it very similar as they have the past 6 years, but we used to never have an answer on defense for Madison. Every other team, we came out thinking, you know, we'll get a block a third of the time, and their offense, they just did such a good job of swinging it back across the field, take what's open. We could never contain it. Those first 2 years I played on wind chill. Is somewhat what we tried to model our offense off early on.
Yeah, that last point looked a lot like our old offense of Andrew Brown and Animal as our primary handlers, swinging it back and forth, throwing break throws, taking what the defense gives them, just slowly working up the field. You know, it takes 25 throws and you walk it in.
Good old school, boring Radicals offense.
It's effective.
Late in the third quarter.
It's been interesting, Colin, because, you know, through the years, I love coming to Madison, obviously. It's a great place to visit during the summertime. I feel like I know my way around Madison better than any other AUDL city. Like, I've been there enough. I've walked, I've run, I've driven around the city. I love coming there. But for a long time, the Radicals had a tendency to play, from a television standpoint, more boring games than other teams. By nature of the defense, slowing it down, by nature of the offense. And that's a nice grab there by Tarek. I mean, it's like, I love coming to Madison, but I think it's interesting how, and I feel like most of these rewatch games we've done have been close Radicals losses. Like, because if the Madison Radicals win, it's just like, oh, boring, no big deal. Like, it's when you guys get tested, it's a different game. I don't know.
We talked about how the stars aligned for the Radicals.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can certainly blame Tim for the early seasons of us being boring, because he watched a lot of Dick Bennett basketball growing up. So it was very much defense, and slow it down on offense. So I think that was kind of his model of what he wanted to do with a Frisbee team. And I think he realized that I don't think we have the throwing talent we used to have. We don't have an Andrew Brown or an Animal. So we realized we need to take more chances, and that certainly leads to higher variance in our games. You know, the lows are lower, but the highs are higher, you know, and that's what won us a championship, I think, is, you know, when we did add more more firepower to our O-line, having guys like Peter out there and Pat out there getting more touches, who are kind of a little more aggressive with their throws. So, I mean, it's certainly a big trade-off, but yeah, like you're saying, like, you know, when we lose, we tend to lose kind of ugly, because, you know, when it's going bad, it looks really bad.
Yeah. And the converse of that, Jimmy, like, again, it's a small sample bias, and I haven't seen every game, but I feel like Minnesota has played some of the most exciting games I've watched. And perhaps it's just because you guys are gunslingers and you got big, tall, athletic, young defenders who are – I mean, that's just who you are. You're not trying to necessarily be cautious and conservative.
Yeah, that's to a T, especially early on. We had, I think, the most athletic D-line in the league those first 2 years. We had some huge players. Tyler Latham, if you remember him. Strings was obviously what held our D-line together, especially once we got the turnovers. He was an every other player. But I think this year our offense slowed it down and we became a little calmer. But, yeah, we've always been, let's go out there, athleticism, we're going to win with our legs kind of a mentality. And we're slowly incorporating more strategy and such in. Hopefully it'll be a little more boring, but win a few more games.
Kurt Gibson has established himself as one of the main voices of the AUDL.
Don't get boring on us now.
Yeah.
Analysis into the Raleigh. Looking forward to hearing from Kurt next Saturday night in the booth.
It's a big sequence here.
New York and DC go to double overtime. I think that ended on a.
Yeah, it seems like there's been every quarter inside 30 seconds a really big opportunity for both teams. And this is where Minnesota takes advantage.
Here's the final seconds of the third, and that deep shot is
here's the
caught, but they rule it out
little
of
push by
bounds to the back of the end
Strywise,
zone.
where I think people slowed it down, and it looked like he was going to come down on the line or just barely out. But I think this was a pretty sweet call just because Strywise instinctually just shoved him at the last second and realized it and said, you know, I'm not sure if he would have been in or not, and called the integrity there.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's close. But I mean, yeah, again, like you're saying, that's the testament to Pat and like the type of player he is. He knows he pushed him because he was trying not to run him over.
Like,
so
freeze it right there. Luke, can you go back? Freeze it when he clap catches it, but before he lands, because like he's a good foot shy of the back line. He's got it, and his momentum's going forward a little bit. When does the contact happen?
Yeah, he's definitely in the air with the contact.
Does that toe hit down?
It's hard to tell with this.
It still might even be in. He might be in, yeah.
Yeah, from this angle it looks like it.
Then this could be ruled in bounds.
So, I mean, the reason why this is such a big call, obviously it's a tie game. If Minnesota scores, they're going to get the disc to start the fourth quarter up by 1. And they're going to take
Pat overturned it, saying that there was a foul on the goal line. Integrity rule there. So Leonard's going to have it, and it's going to be a one-throw.
This is the
situation. Leonard needs to throw this to the end zone.
He has one throw.
He scoobers it, and it's caught.
Yeah, and this is unfortunate because I'm in the back of our zone right there, and I'm screaming at Kevin to drop back because I have 2 guys back there. I was like, I can't guard both these guys, and he heard me just a second too late. Like he's working his way back there because you can hear me screaming at him, and it's just like a second too late.
Looked like there was 3 guys on the mark there for a second.
Yeah, it was one of those situations. We did a terrible job of communicating because we wanted to be in zone, and Tim actually reamed us out too because he's like, "Why are you?" So we have it set up where sometimes we mark from behind him and sometimes we mark in front in the zone. And Tim screamed at Bosher and Wiseman saying,
"Hang on, Colin. Luke, can you go back to right before the throw and kind of show us the wide shot of the field and pause it and let Colin talk us through the formation here? Because it's an untimed situation. You know they have one throw. Colin, take us through how guys are matched up.
Right, so right here we want Kevin to drop back to where Mattis is right now. Tim gets really upset with Nate and Dave because what they end up doing, they mark him from behind, which is a strategy that we do sometimes. But in this situation, you want to be right in front of them. If they throw the disc backwards, it doesn't matter. But you don't want to have them have a free throw upfield. So Tim was livid at them after this because they end up marking behind him and giving him a throw upfield. And then, that was just, it was one of the situations
where
it
in
was
center field with your arms both ways, guarding 5 guys.
I'm like, and I'm screaming at Kevin like, drop.
We can roll it.
So yeah, it was definitely a lack of communication. It happened too quickly, and they took advantage of it.
Point spike as the wind chill take the lead at the end of the third.
And that's a very un-Radicals-like sequence. I mean, you have the disc with 13 seconds left. You turn it and then make a defensive mental mistake on the goal line to give up a great goal. And I mean, credit to Schreiwise for the integrity call there, but not a great sequence from a playing standpoint for the Radicals.
No, exactly. You said it. We pride ourselves on being prepared and handling situations the right way, and we did not handle that end of the quarter well. But kudos to Minnesota for.
I was going to say that point gave us a lot of energy going into the fourth too. This is where we first thought like, oh, they're right with us, and if we keep putting the pressure on, we've got a good chance to win this. This is when everyone was getting pumped, and I don't think we've ever had that energy in Breeze Stevens before.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you guys have never won in Breeze Stevens before.
Nope. We had one game.
And I thought it was. Go ahead.
I would say we had one game where we were tied with the Radicals with 1 minute left.
Right.
And actually, Collins beat us on that one. That was like 3 years ago. I got a great block on KPS and was pumped, and then I'm chasing Colin down with like 30 seconds left, and he skies me and throws the goal and never came back. That was our closest we'd come to beating Madison before that.
And I mean, Jimmy, it was interesting what you said before the game, talking about like your team's mindset. You thought you were going to compete, but you just said before the game, like, I'm not sure we thought we were going to win. But here you are, you're up 1 with the disc starting the fourth quarter. Do you believe that you're going to win now?
Yeah, after 3 solid quarters, I mean, I was of the mindset we have the talent, but we don't have the cohesiveness yet, and I thought we were going to fall apart in one of the 4 quarters, and after being so consistent here and being tied with them the whole time, I think everyone gained some confidence going into this fourth quarter.
Rising flick, tough grab made by Jordan.
Especially with no big wins this season that I can think of. I mean, we had one against Detroit, but we had 2 losses to Chicago, and we'd never felt like we were running on all cylinders yet.
Mm-hmm. And still at this point, we hadn't talked too much about Josh Potterack. But there's a reason we call this the Potterack game, and that those reasons are coming in the next 10 minutes and 47 seconds.
Well, and right here is a huge point for Minnesota's offense right now. I mean, they've already burnt about 1.5 minutes. Doesn't look like you're in any hurry to score, and I think you end up punching this one in. And that's just like killer in those situations, when you can take up 1 or 2 minutes and still score.
Yep. And Coolidge, who has had shoulder issues in the
I'll tell you, we got a ways to go before the first goal comes here in the fourth.
Yeah.
Do we? Okay.
I don't. There may not be a turn. Say it again, Jimmy.
Well, Coolidge gets hurt here. I'm wondering if he was injured the rest of the game.
Yeah, I don't remember if he comes back or not. It almost looks like he hit his head there.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen him take that clean.
Ooh, yeah.
His head hit Klane's cleat.
Inadvertently
Yeah.
caught Klane's cleat. in his head.
I always joke with Coolidge. I think he has the most almost Ds in the league.
Endured several injuries. Wednesday practice before championship weekend last year, he suffered a hamstring injury.
KPS too. I mean, he gets a ton of Ds as well, but he's just flying all over the field every time you see him.
Right.
The Radicals won it all. Up the line, dangerous throw. Mechanix is there for the Madison.
Mechanix with a great block. Man, Mechanix's always kind of hidden under my radar. Maybe because I've never played against him, but he's such a good defender, and he just hides out there in D and attacks it at the perfect moment.
Yeah. Well said.
This break opportunity is here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, one thing he's really good at that I've always noticed is that he acts as if he's not paying attention to the thrower, and the thrower thinks he's not paying attention, but he really does have eyes in the back of his head.
So Luo wants that one back.
Yeah. Jimmy, to put it into perspective statistically, I mean, you've had a great career, 118 blocks. Mechanix is third all-time, 163. It's a lot of blocks.
I have that far to go to get up to the top. I'm going to have to play till I'm 40.
Colin, do you know how many blocks you have all time?
10.
You had 10 in a single season. Come on, man.
No,
if we include the playoffs, you've got 30 blocks in your career. You did bad for an offensive player.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Guess your offense.
I don't know if I have 30
goals. I don't know what the deal is.
Still, the craziest thing to me ever is Cam Brock's goals. I mean, not to bring this back to offense, but that is just unbelievable. He has double everyone else. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah. So, by the way, this is still the first point of this fourth quarter. Nearly 8 minutes.
Is it really? Wow.
But that'll work.
And that's killer. 4 minutes and they end up scoring. I mean, that's killer in the AUDL. And that's the type of thing that we would pride ourselves on in fourth quarters, you know, in years past, is having 3-minute long offensive points and then scoring. And those are so daunting.
I don't want to dwell on this, but Luke, go back 10 seconds. What did KPS just do after this point? Colin, do you know the story here?
Oh, I can't ever read KPS's mind. Don't try to get me entering into KPS's mind.
Like he's cleaning the disc off after it was spiked or something.
That was interesting.
Sure, they did turn the disc over, but they were as patient as ever working that disc from midfield.
Missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you pointed this out earlier.
So yeah, Lady Minute Taylor, 8:08 to go, 2-goal game. And Colin, your offense has had quite a bit of rest here to.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, at this point, I think we're still confident, but we know we need to score here. I mean, it's one of those things where we can't get broken any more times. Like, that's definitely our mindset at this point.
And like, just think, if Leonard had come down out of bounds, or Pat hadn't done the integrity, it'd be 17-16 right now. And you know, 1-goal lead, 2-goal lead. It feels pretty massive at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2-goal leads with 8 minutes left. That you start to feel the pressure a little bit. I mean, that means you got to get at least 2 breaks to win. So, I mean, you're feeling it at that point.
Before you can get a break, obviously, you got to hold, which you guys are trying to do quickly. But Madison plays pretty good defense here. I mean, the point begins with 8:08 left and ends with 7:01 left, so they force you to take 67 seconds off the clock.
Not gonna lie, Kevin Brown
Right, that's a smart defense right there from them. You know, limit the hucks, make us throw it, 20 times, eat up some clock, and if we end up scoring, we score, but they're still in control of the game.
Slices through the double team. Wiseman brings it back within one for Madison.
Toner taking it to break. I like it. Colin, you ever play with Toner?
Yeah, we were on the U23 team together.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I love Toner. He's a great guy.
Is he a good teammate?
Best teammate. He's like the ultimate positivity guy. Like he is always hyping people up. So, yeah, great teammate.
I miss Toner. He just moved back out to Colorado.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know that. Good for him.
Yeah. He drove out there a couple weeks ago, I think. Oh, I forgot that we didn't even talk about the pizza point.
Oh, the pizza.
Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Madison D gets a break to start the fourth quarter, everyone gets free pizza.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep. Everybody gets a free slice of pizza.
Well, and the D line, that was a 4-minute point almost. They had a chance.
Yeah. I will say, Klain makes a point of never letting your crowd get pizza. He tries the hardest on that point every time. We do make a lot of jokes about it.
A few weeks ago, that's a nice throw. Taylor thought he was in the end zone, but he wasn't. So he quickly resets to Greenberg.
I mean, it's apparently a great promotion. Gets the crowd into it. It's awesome. But that's better offense from the wind chill.
Doubles the lead for Minnesota.
Yeah, that was quick.
Now we're feeling a little bit more pressure on offense, obviously. Every time you guys get a hold at this point, it's all right, like you cannot get broken, and we gotta, and it's not, we have to score quick, but we have to be somewhat efficient. We can't be having 1.5 to 2 minute long points. So there's definitely urgency at this point, halfway through the quarter.
Once the disc got back in the hands of Klain, might as well call that point over.
$6 minutes, 19 seconds remaining here in the fourth. Minnesota leads by 2.
We've seen that several times tonight where the side stack.
Colin, would you say your offense is kind of streaky when you guys are playing well?
Oh gosh!
Oh man, never mind. Let's talk about that.
We'll get back to that. Luke, let's watch that again.
I mean, this is legitimately one of the top 5 blocks I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is insane.
Where are they cutting from? Can we see them right now? Where's Tarek?
He's off screen.
Yeah.
He's like at midfield.
Yeah. There he goes. There he goes.
Yeah, right there. I mean, look how high that disc is.
Yeah. That's one of those plays where you're close enough that you could have a play if the person didn't have good body position boxing you out. But at that point, I would have thought it was lost. There's no way to get that block without fouling someone. And it's amazing he floated up there and did that.
Right.
And didn't even bump the offensive player.
So, yeah.
And the wind chill will try to quiet the crowd further with another D-line score.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that Minnesota does not score this point, but this point is going to last another minute and a half, which at this stage of the game is significant.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, look at their D-line doing a great job just working the disc, but that's great D. Tarek gets it back.
Almost scarily collided, but Akuz comes up with the D. The clock ticks Under 5 to play.
Colin, are you looking at the clock?
And that is an unforced turnover.
I saw it.
What was that,
When you're on the field, are you glancing at the clock? You know, in situations like this.
Yeah, I mean, typically every time the disc turns over, I'm just taking a quick glance just to see where we're at. You know, obviously, if it's under 4 minutes at that point, we're trying to really press. And, you know, yeah, you're always taking a glance just to make sure you're aware of time and situation for sure.
Isaac Leonard just was replaced as well by Christian Johnson.
Well, while we wait here, I'll finish my question. I mean, Madison's offense, to me, on the outside, looks like one of the most consistent, calm offenses. Like, do you feel that you guys get pretty streaky? Like, as the game pace moves along, do you feel like you play better as you're scoring more points, or do you guys always pretty chill on offense? I don't know how to word that, but
no, I get what you're saying. I mean, we're definitely a streaky offense, especially when it comes to like our deep shots. If we have a couple of guys that are feeling it, it seems like our offense is invincible. If we're struggling with our throws, it feels like a grind, and you can definitely feel the pressure. I think our team, we're not super good anymore at having 30 throw points. We're much better in like the 5 to 20 range. Gosh, that D again. But yeah, we're really good in that 5 to 20 range. So if we're able to work up the disc but not have to really grind it out, that's where our strong
Luke,
is.
Pause this right here because I have a question for you guys.
Oh
There's
my God.
obviously, I mean, leave it right there for a second. But here's my thing. We as an ultimate society love to demonize people for dangerous bids. And I'm not saying this is a dangerous bid. I think this is an unbelievable play. However, if Tarek goes straight up for the disc, then arguably Potterack goes through his back, and then the conversation might be, oh, this dirty Iowa State rookie doesn't know what he's doing. So, like, it's all we only judge it based upon the results and never kind of think about the situation. And like, I think you could make an argument that that's a dangerous play over the course of Ultimate's rulebook. Now, I don't want to legislate this play out of the game, but I just think there's a double standard here that frustrates me as an Ultimate fan and as an Ultimate broadcaster. And I'm curious, Jimmy, let's start with you as a defensive player. Your thoughts on that aspect of the conversation?
Yeah. I mean, this one in particular, the disc was trailing away, so it would have been rare for him to slow down. Who knows if Potterack saw that or not. But we've had a few players that, like Dylan DeClark, he came in very fresh. He'd only played a couple years of Ultimate before, and he made a few dangerous bids his first season or two, and we had to talk with him. And now he makes these kind of bids, but does it. He positions himself well, so even if there is contact, he can roll out of it. And I think a lot of it's on defensive awareness of knowing even if it's a little bit of a dangerous situation like this one looks, you can see Potterack right after he gets it, he kind of balls up, tries to make sure he's not having contact. And I think that's the biggest thing on defense is, yeah, you have some kind of risky bids you have to do, but you have to make sure you have body control still while doing it to make sure there's no horrific injuries or anything that occur from it.
Colin?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things, it's really tough to legislate. The biggest thing, I think, is when I see deep shots go up and there's bids on them, there tends to be less negative outcomes in those situations when two players are running deep. The ones that I see that are really bad is, you know, there's a reset handler catching the disc, and it's obvious he's going to get the disc, and somebody just, like, T-bones him in the back. And it's like, what were you doing there? Like, I don't understand what you were doing. Like, it seems like when two people are actually able to like go on a dead sprint for the disc, it ends normally with not a ton of contact, which I appreciate. Like, I don't want a bid like that to stop happening. And even if he clips my leg in that situation, if I'm Tarek, I'm probably not too upset about it because I understand why he made the bid. So, yeah, again, like you said, it's really tough to legislate. And there's certainly a double standard based on if contact's made or not. But it's certainly like knowing the situation. And I think a lot more injury happens in like the handler set or in the middle of the field where there's a lot more people together as opposed to two people running deep. There tends to be better body control in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
Lou
would say
in the
it's
comments makes a good. Lou makes a good point in the comments, just saying that Potterack safely jumps because he can sense Tarek is a couple steps from jumping. It's a bold claim to make, but it seems accurate. Jimmy, go ahead.
I was going to say that the plays where I think even if there isn't bad contact that could be considered dangerous plays are the ones where someone's streaking up line and someone comes from the side perpendicular to them. Those are the really dangerous plays when you're moving in different directions. And yeah, that's where I think there could be some talk about calling dangerous plays and such.
You certainly don't need to rush. You don't want to rush, but you don't want to get too casual either. Which is a point to get back to that Grant.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jimmy. I mean, I completely agree with that.
What are we doing? 2:45 left here?
Yeah. Yep, and smart bleeding of the clock here. You guys are in no rush. This handler movement. I'm not sure what we're doing. We're not really playing handler defense here. We're letting you have free resets, which is not something we should be doing. But you guys are definitely utilizing that to your advantage.
Now he just tried to get it on his foot. A little bit of everything here tonight, Madison. Vinoka, low throw, but hung on to
good bid.
Burden. Over the top, it's gonna work. Minnesota back up by 2.
Winchell has some good spikes in this game.
You can give Mattis credit for pioneering the spikes. He's been doing it since day one.
How about that throw? Luke, go back 5 seconds. Just see the replay of that from the sideline, breaking the double team, kind of falling through it.
Oh, that was a foul. I wasn't sure if KPS had moved his leg or not there, on if Cam was selling it, but it looks like KPS moved into it.
Either a foul or
it's
a
hard
travel.
To tell. Or a travel, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he knee knocks him there.
Yeah.
Minnesota trying to close out an improbable road win at Breeze Stevens Field against the Radicals.
So just to give you guys a sense, like, as a broadcaster, I'm like, okay, you know, we get this 2-0 Madison team. They're the defending champs. They're raising the banner. They're not going to lose tonight. They jump out 2-0 immediately. All right, hopefully Minnesota can keep this close and competitive. Like, the fact that the wind chill are up by 2 with 2 minutes to go here is stunning from my perspective. Just because, like, I love watching the wind chill, but I haven't seen you ever win games like this before. And no one wins at Breeze Stevens Field in the Midwest Division. I mean, literally at this point, that's my perspective as a broadcaster and journalist. So there's some pretty stunning, like, storylines running through my mind right now.
Chicago losing in Pittsburgh, Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think this was a huge step for us winning this. Just acknowledgement, even though our season was 6-6, saying, hey, we've been striving since the creation of Windchill to beat the Radicals here. And it was just a good little piece of encouragement. Hey, we're improving and we can actually compete.
2 minutes to go. Madison needs to score quickly.
Colin, in a strange way, I mean, this game changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, you could even argue that the end of the third quarter changed everything. I mean, that was a defining play for us in a sense. Losing this game was tough, and then we had to go play a tough road game in Toronto and got punched in the mouth there. And I think that really kind of set the foundation for the rest of the season for us. That and ended up being quite a struggle of a season. So yeah, I mean, this is certainly one of those games that kind of gets you on that road of where we ended up. And, you know, we're not used to losing at home, the teams in the Midwest. So, yeah, it's, you know, you can see us already hanging our heads, walking off the field after that timeout. So, you know, and the game's not even over yet, and we're already feeling down. So, you know, that's not how champions should handle games, and that's something that we need to improve on as a team. But, you know, certainly them punching us in the mouth in this game probably was the start of the tough season for us.
Yeah, we just saw Isaac Leonard have a really good run through D there too. He's been with us for I think 3 years, and he just graduated college this year. Watching him progress has been super fun because he came in athletic and just didn't have the throwing abilities yet, and kind of reading the field. And especially this season and in our preseason, he was looking quite solid. I'm excited to see what he brings the next 5-10 years.
Body control, getting his torso up, and Evan, I hate to say it, but
yeah, even though you guys are rivals of ours, I love watching your team speed. Like having a guy like Josh who has all the throwing ability, and then you guys with your team speed. It's a pretty scary combination. And
isn't over yet.
That's crazy that first throw after that timeout was just dropped.
His final stoppage with just over a minute remaining. By the way, Potterick is flying to Europe tomorrow.
He was leaving that. Yeah.
Of course, he didn't expect Iowa State to make it to nationals, so he had to change his travel flying directly to Texas after a shortened European vacation.
I hope he's able to get some training in.
Remember when we could just fly to Europe whenever we wanted, and then change our plans and fly to Texas? And what a world, right?
I was in Austin, Texas when coronavirus first started shutting everything down. I went down for Ultimate Nationals, and I arrived and I saw NHL, NBA canceled, and then that night they canceled the Ultimate Nationals. So I was worried I wasn't even going to fly back, but at least I got a trip in at the very end.
Wow.
The very start of it.
So how long did you spend in Austin?
Our flight didn't get canceled yet, which was lucky. I was only there for 3 days. So. But yeah, the bars were considering shutting down at that point. It was in that weird point where all the sports were shutting down and everyone was talking about it, but no one had closed the doors yet.
How did that work?
Yeah, I was ready to get going off to Vegas right before that for March Madness. And my girlfriend's like, "You're crazy." I was like, "I'm going to go. I'll be fine." And then, like, the NBA started getting canceled and sports started getting canceled. I was like, oh, okay, I think it's time to take this serious. Like, people are taking this serious. So, yeah, it's crazy that I remember a bunch of Goldie Nationals people, had already gone down there or were in the process of going down there.
Yep.
So, that's crazy.
Yeah, the rest of our team didn't come. It was just me and 2 other people hanging out there trying to figure out what to do in Austin. Which, to be fair, there's a lot to do there. This was a quick goal.
It's a classic Dave Wiseman goal, just being tall.
Yeah. And we knew you were going to throw it quick there. I thought they were going to swing it to you under and back or something and huck it. I didn't think it was going to be the first throw.
Yeah, I think at that point go ahead, Evan.
Go ahead. No, you're going to tell you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, I remember in the huddle, it was, let's just throw one deep real quick and see what happens because we need a score right here if we're going to have any chance.
Minnesota on the doorstep of an upset here at Breeze Stevens Field, trying to win in this venue for the first time. If they can just hang on to the disc for another 20 seconds.
I mean, I'm trying to keep an eye on the sidelines because you guys are both on the sidelines right here. Jimmy getting excited about what's about to happen, and Colin probably feeling pretty helpless.
With 5 seconds left, Taylor made the catch, and this game is over.
Yeah, you can see Madison kind of chucked it there again at the end.
Jordan Taylor threw the disc a little early, and the windshield were a little frustrated as Mechanix tried.
I'm glad we avoided major controversy here.
Yep.
And we think this game is over, although now the officials.
So this is terrible timing, but my building and fire alarm just went off. So I'm going to have to sign off of this call.
It's better than with 5 minutes to go. Colin, thanks so much. Yeah. We'll wrap it up, me and Jimmy. Stay safe.
Okay. Take care, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Wow. Hopefully,
I thought I heard something going on there.
I guess Colin. What an image to lose Colin at. So, Jimmy, I mean, you guys. You fall down 2-0. You've never won in Madison before, and you escape with a 20-19 win. I mean, what do you remember from the immediate aftermath?
I mean, you saw us dancing on the field there like we just won the championship. It was a pretty big moment. I have a picture saved on my phone pointing up at the scoreboard with Feldman. So it was a very big moment for Windchill there, just to come out on top there and grind for 4 quarters. It was pretty exciting.
On the ride back to the Twin Cities, were you guys more focused on the win or on the play that Potterack made?
Oh, I think we drank 10 cases of Surly while playing Potterack on replay. I must have seen that clip 1,000 times. It's been talked about more than any other Windchill play I can think of. We were definitely watching that.
How do you feel? I mean, you're known for your defense. You've got over 100 Ds in your career. I'm sure you got plenty of highlight reel ones that you're proud of. And then this kid shows up one game and makes a play like that.
No, I'm pumped. I mean, it was amazing last year being able to say I was the top in the league. But having 28 goals and the next closest being Isaac Leonard at 9 is not good for our defense. So to see young guys, or 28 blocks, sorry. Yeah. 28 blocks. The next closest was Isaac with 9. And I like having a bunch of young guys that come in and get blocks like that because we need to spread out the Ds and make our defense much more well-rounded. So I'm pumped for it. And he's so invested in the team and super excited about it. So he's a blast to play with.
So you were not involved in the first 2 seasons for the Windchill. You joined in 2015. I think this is absolutely the best win in Windchill history to win at Breese Stevens Field. In the comments, Brandon Mattis says that was the best play in Windchill history. I won't put you responsible for the first 2 seasons, but since 2015, is that the best play that the Windchill have had?
The only one I would compare is Dylan DeClark's immediate
against Pittsburgh in your place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge layout.
I was there that night.
Got the goal. That one was pretty incredible, but Potterack's was so unexpected. I think it takes the top.
And Potterack's ended up leading to a win, even though it didn't lead to a score directly. Interestingly, that playoff game was wild.
And that just set the atmosphere too.
Yeah. How did your team's mentality change after winning in Madison over the course of the rest of the season?
I mean, we still had a lot to grow as a team, but yeah, we had confidence saying we can be number 1 in the division. We were confident that if we can play to that level against Madison, if we do everything right, we felt like the top team. I mean, we weren't, but that gave us that confidence. And
yeah, that was a crazy.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, going into this season, I mean, having beat Madison, knowing there wasn't that huge overpower above us, we could beat them. Every other team in the league we'd beaten. at least a couple times. So going into this season, we got an amazing roster, and we're like, hey, we've beat every team in the league now. We could be number one.
Yeah. I think that was the wildest part of the Midwest Division last year, is that the top 5 teams, except Detroit, obviously, I think all of them honestly felt that they were the best team in the division. Yeah. And, like, they believed it. And it just came down to matchups and a few different pops and bounces of the disc.
Yeah, definitely. India's always felt like they were a good squad that could win it all. They've always given off that attitude. Chicago has kind of bounced back and forth. They've had a lot of young players, but that year, especially with Raider and Giannis, seemed like they thought they were number one for sure, and seemed like they could be. And yeah, Pitt with Max Shepard, he stepped up their game. It was pretty interesting to see the spread at the end of the season there.
In the comments, Matta says that Indy's Cam Brock said that Minnesota was the scariest matchup, and you guys didn't even make it. And obviously Madison was the defending champs, and they didn't make it. And that's it disappoints me that we didn't get the reprise of 2019 and 2020, but hopefully it's just as insane in 2021, and we're able to get back to Ultimate. Jimmy, any final thoughts before we head out on what life has been like, or when you watch this game, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind is I want to play some Ultimate. I'd done a good job of putting it out of my mind this summer, but watching that, it's tough to not get antsy. I'm excited for next year.
I hear you, man. I think I forgot how close this game was, because I think of it as like, my memory is Potterack making these crazy plays late and Minnesota kind of demoralizing Madison a little bit. But over the course of this game, that the sequence to the end of the third quarter was really a wild sequence. And I remember talking to Pat after the game, and he was just like, I think I got him. I don't want to leave any doubt that, I was cheating. So if there's any chance that I got him, I got to make that call. I'd feel much worse if I didn't make it and we ended up winning. So, Integrity Award winner Pat Schreiwa is a good example of that. Well, Jimmy, this has been great. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as you were talking there, I felt confident we were even, but even with 30 seconds left, I wasn't confident we had that game won. It still felt super close. They scored with a minute left in 5 seconds, and I was biting my nails that whole time. It was a pretty intense game.
Yeah. Well, this has been maybe my favorite Thursday Night Rewind of the year, and not just because I had Deschutes for the first time. It's been delicious over the course of the night. I've seen you having one as well. We'll just assume that you're having Deschutes. Buy Deschutes at your local stores. They support the AUDL.
Still a little bit leaning towards Surly. Yeah, but
respect Surly. Well, hopefully we can play Ultimate again soon, and hopefully you can stay healthy. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was a great time.
That'll do it, folks. For Jimmy Kittleson and for Colin Camp, I'm Evan Lepler. We thank Luke Johnson. We thank you, all the folks in the comments section lighting us up. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.